Okay, so when you hear Aston Martin, what comes to mind? Right? It's that perfect British style, the sound of that engine, and yeah, probably a certain secret agent. But believe me, the real story behind this brand is way more than just that. It's this incredible saga of almost failing over and over again, but somehow always surviving. We're going to dive into that story right now. And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, think about it. How does a company that goes belly up twice before 1926 end up as the go-to car for the most famous spy in the world? It just doesn't seem possible. That's the mystery we're going to unravel today.
All right, so let's start at the very beginning. And trust me, it was a bumpy ride right from the get-go.
So the name itself, it actually tells you everything you need to know about what they were aiming for. One of the founders, Lionel Martin, was a big-time racer at a place called Aston Hill. So what did he do? He just smashed the two names together. Aston, Martin, boom. Right from day one, that name was all about speed and winning. But that dream, yeah, it pretty much hit a brick wall immediately. I mean, look at this. Their early years were just one disaster after another. World War I stops production before they can even really get going. Then they go bankrupt in 1924. They get new owners and fail again the very next year. Can you imagine? It got so bad that the founder, Lionel Martin, was actually forced out of his own company. And just when you think it can't get any worse, bam, World War II hits and shuts everything down all over again. It's just relentless. So after all that chaos, the company was on life support. They desperately needed a hero. And in 1947, they got one. This is where the story completely changes, kicking off what we now call the golden age of Aston Martin. And that hero's name was David Brown. He was this wealthy industrialist who saw something special in the struggling brand. He bought the company in '47, and he wasn't just a silent partner. His influence was so huge, he literally put his own initials on the cars. DB. And those two letters, well, they would go on to become absolutely legendary. And you know what? The DB cars were the real deal. Starting in 1950 with models like the DB2, they started building this amazing reputation all over the UK for being high-quality, high-performance machines. For the first time in its history, Aston Martin wasn't just scraping by. It was actually building something solid, a real foundation for what was to come. Okay, so now the company is respected. People in the UK know who they are. But they're about to become famous, like globally famous, thanks to a partnership that nobody saw coming, one that would turn them into a household name. And it all happens in this one pivotal year, 1964. This is the moment that changes everything. Of course, I'm talking about James Bond. The second Sean Connery slides behind the wheel of that gorgeous silver DB5 in the movie Goldfinger, it was game over. The car wasn't just a car anymore. It was, and forever would be, the Bond car. And this wasn't just a one-hit wonder. This partnership became something else entirely. I mean, the DB5 is without a doubt the most iconic Bond car, showing up in at least 6 different movies over the years. It's just the perfect match, right? Bond makes Aston Martin cool, and Aston Martin makes Bond look good. The relationship is so tight that they actually built a one-of-a-kind car, the DB10, just for the film Spectre. That's loyalty. So you'd think, okay, they're the official car of James Bond. They must be set for life, right? Well, not quite. For Aston Martin, the fight to survive was still a long way from being over. Even with all that fame, they still managed to rack up huge debts and had to be sold again in 1972. The new folks came in and switched things up, creating these big, brawny muscle cars like the V8 Vantage. But the real game changer came in the late 80s, when a corporate giant stepped in, Ford. Ford started buying up stock, and by the 90s, they owned the whole thing. And honestly, this was exactly what they needed. The Ford era brought a kind of stability Aston Martin had been dreaming of for like 100 years. It was the perfect combination. You had Aston Martin's incredible design flair, backed by Ford's massive manufacturing power. And this is when we got some of the modern icons, like the stunning DB7 and DB9. This period really, truly saved the company. So after 100 years of ups and downs, what does Aston Martin look like today? Well, they're finally on solid ground. Today, you're looking at a company with over 1,000 employees, bringing in around £500 million in revenue. It's a world away from those early days of constantly going bankrupt. And they're not just relying on their past either. They've had to adapt to survive. That's why they launched the DBX, their very first SUV. They knew they had to get into that market to compete. It really shows you that this is a brand that has finally learned how to plan for the future. But at the same time, they haven't forgotten what made them famous. The Vantage is back, and it's still the most successful model they have ever made. It just goes to show you that their original formula, pure power and stunning beauty, is absolutely timeless. And, very profitable. And if you want to see the peak of their ambition today, look no further than this. The Valkyrie. It's a hypercar so insane, Aston Martin themselves said it has the power of the gods. I mean, come on, that is a pretty bold statement. But for a brand that's come back from the dead so many times, maybe it's fitting. So when you look back, the story of Aston Martin isn't really just about cars, is it? It's a story about pure resilience. It shows that if an idea is strong enough, that mix of style, power, and that something, that cool factor, it can survive pretty much anything. Wars, bankruptcies, you name it. It's almost like some icons are just too important, too powerful to be allowed to fail. Which really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is that secret sauce? What really makes a brand last forever?